Hello, I'm Travis, and welcome to our small family farm. Where is it? Well, we're working on it. My brother and I have been clearing land so that we can grow our own foods, vegetables, and produce. We are not trying to compete on the commercial scale. We are, however, trying to become more self-sufficient. We won't reach 100% self-sufficiency, as that would require a significant amount of land, farm animals, and a decent amount of grain. However, we plan to grow most of our own fruits and vegetables. By doing so, we will greatly cut down on the cost of living for ourselves in the future. We realize that there is a decent upfront cost to starting our own mega garden or small family farm. However, this is our goal. I hope you stick with us and see how we grow our farm. This is our first area where we are using a number of repurposed materials, such as concrete blocks that we have had in our family, and we source pallets from businesses that are throwing them away. We're planning to grow above ground in raised grow beds, raised planters, however you would like to call them. We're looking at somewhere around 2 feet reach on each side, so 4 feet in diameter. And we'll be making rows of these just like we would do rows in the ground. So we have decided to do above ground farming instead of in-ground farming for a few reasons. One of which is we are really close to the water table here in Florida. In the particular area that we're in, we're not too far from a river. And the ground will go through periods of time where it will be heavily saturated with water, and other times where we're going to have to water quite frequently. So we decided we wanted to do some above ground grow beds because it will, one, allow us to manage our water more efficiently based on our needs, and two, as we get older, I'm 38 years old myself, my brother is 6 years older than I, it's going to be much harder on us to constantly get down and weed at the ground level and pull things out of the ground. So we want to spend some time, energy now, and a bit more money up front, we understand that, to build raised garden beds, raised grow beds, and do more, I would like to say, a little bit more modern type of agriculture. We could do it the old de facto way of putting it in the ground directly and just sowing rows, but we want to see what we can do. We want to get creative and, try things our own way and see what happens. With these concrete blocks that we have, we can make a couple of raised garden beds. Oh, there goes my brother on his tractor. With these raised garden beds, using these concrete blocks, we're still deciding how high we want them, and that's probably going to be dependent on how many concrete blocks we already have at our disposal to finish out one complete grow bed. Most of these concrete blocks are 8 inches tall, so if we count up from the bottom, 8, 16, 24, that's 2 feet. Go one higher, that's 30. So that's 2.5 feet. And if you think about it, gardening at this level, if you're trying to plant crops, harvest crops, maintain crops in a season, is much easier on the back and body. It will take a bit more effort to fill up these beds, and it'll take a fair amount of dirt. However, we won't be filling the bottoms with soil. The bottoms will be a mixture of woods, yard debris, and then we will start to add a few little bits of sand here and there. Then we will add compost, then we will add soil, then we will add our various mixtures of topsoil and compost for growing fruits and vegetables. So there's going to be quite a mixture of resources that we actually have available to us on our property to fill these grow beds. And we are slowly starting to pile them up and amass these resources, as it will take us time to fill beds of this size. We'll probably start with one, then move forward to a second, and then move forward to a third as we get more resources. And we will more than likely have to bring in a few dump trucks full of dirt. Behind me here are our compost bins. We sourced pallets from local companies and businesses that were just throwing them away. We wanted to go with this style as they looked aesthetically nicer than just heaping it on the ground, although heaping it on the ground is probably one of the best ways to go. However, we have a lot of swamp rabbits, squirrels, raccoons, and a few other creatures that love to get into these compost bins and try to eat the kitchen scraps. We have built these compost bins with lids specifically so that we can keep animals out, and that way we can compost anything that we want. The compost bin construction is fairly straightforward. We just take pallets and screw them together using exterior screws that won't rust. That way they last a little while longer. And then we built lids out of 2x4s and spare materials that we had lying around, and we did have to buy the hinges and a few pieces of hardware to make the lids work. We stripped some pallets down that were a bit on the junky side and repurposed them to make bracing on the inside of the lids. And I did spend just a few extra dollars buying wire screening or wire mesh to line the insides of the bins. That way the material wouldn't just fall through. That way we could keep it heaped together within the bins. When I need to take the material out or heap it or toss it, oh, tractor man. Now when I need to take the material out or add material to it, aka tossing it in order to keep the composting process going, hey Mr. Cicada, could you not? You're going to be doing that for a while. Nature. If it's not the tractor or the sod farm across the street, the cicadas. It takes a fair bit of work, and as I've learned, this is probably where a lot of farmers get their farmer body from. Tossing hay, heaping compost. Whew, it's a fair bit of work. And today, I'll actually be adding material to this one. Let's find out how hot this bed is right now. Okay, it's been about 2 minutes, and it's about 89 degrees, 88, 89 degrees. All right, so it's still in the green zone, but it's the lower end. And so we definitely need to toss this, add either moisture or grass, possibly even some brown material. But if I dig down in here, you'll see it's breaking down pretty well. You just have to do maintenance to your compost periodically to keep the breakdown process going. And this takes a lot of work. But it's also keeping me fit. So we have our large garden area or small family farm area where we're going to be growing most of our vegetables. But what about our fruits? What about some of the other things that are nice to have? Well, we have more room on the property, and we're going to be planting a number of fruit trees of different kinds. Beyond our large garden area, we have a big open field towards the back of our property that we are going to be planting orange trees, lemon trees, limes. We're going to try and grow avocados and a number of other things. We don't have ironed out details on how many of what in each yet, because for a small family, we don't need a huge amount of orange trees. We don't need 10 orange trees and 10 lemon trees, but a handful of each would be great. If we keep the trees happy, they will produce for us, and we can then give the produce to friends and family as gifts, or we can find ways of making money with it. Additionally, we can come up with some sort of artisan goods that we could sell online. Measuring out the square footage of this area that we are going to be growing in, it's about 4,000 square feet and is expandable. We have only to clear some of the trees, bushes around us, and we can make more land for growing as needed, but we're starting with this area with our above ground grow beds just as a way for us to get going. And getting crops in the ground as soon as possible is important to us, but we're also dealing with time and money. So this is a project that's going to be spanning us for the rest of our lives, growing our small family farm. In addition to the produce that we will be growing, we also want to raise some chickens and maybe a few other farm animals. The discussions on those are ongoing. However, we definitely know we want to raise a dozen chickens for eggs to feed our family routinely. And with some of the excess produce that we get from gardening and growing our food, we'll be able to feed them without spending nearly as much money on chicken feed. This area right next to our garden would be perfect for us to have chickens. We are raising the ground level by putting in mulch, sand, and some other materials, and we're going to seed it and build fences around this potentially as an area to house chickens so that we can have eggs either every day or a heaping helpful weekly. And one of the other things that we are considering is either building a small shop or shed and doing aquaponics. Aquaponics is the combination of aquaculture and hydroponics, where we raise fish, more than likely either red tilapia or Nile tilapia, in tanks and use their waste as nutrients to grow food. A lot of research has gone into aquaponics over many years, and studies have shown that crops and certain produces and foods grown in the aquaculture methods from aquaponics can grow quickly and produce more yield per year than growing in standard garden beds or growing in ground as conventional farming would have it. However, each method of growing food comes with its own strengths and weaknesses. The nice thing about doing aquaponics is that we will actually have an animal, the fish, that we can grow and eat. So we will have a somewhat steady form of protein from the fish that we harvest periodically. However, we have to balance that out because the fish are what are making that system work. Now, if we do not build our own structures to warehouse the fish and some of the grow beds, we would like to purchase additional land nearby where we can actually do this. However, for now, we are going to start with conventional farming, albeit in raised garden beds, so that we can grow our green thumbs and learn to work with nature a bit better. This is the wide swath of our property. It looks pretty, and you can't see it from here, but the area that we're going to be gardening is in the back to the right. But what are we going to do with the rest of the property? Well, you'll just have to wait and see over time. If you like and subscribe, as we add updates to our channel and show you how we have progressed with our small family farm, you'll be able to come right along with us and see how this goes. Thank you.